Some people move through life carrying invisible ghosts. Not ghosts of the dead, but ghosts of the past. They cling to relationships that ended long ago. They replay conversations that happened years back. They keep objects they never use, stay loyal to identities that no longer fit them, and hold on to hurts as if they were sacred relics. And from the outside, these people seem loyal, nostalgic, maybe even sentimental. But psychologically, something far more complex and far more painful is happening. According to Carl Jung, the inability to let go is not a simple emotional habit. It is a deep psychic entanglement, a silent inner paralysis where the past becomes more real than the present. Today's video is a journey into this hidden world. Why do some people hold on long after something has ended? Why do they fear letting go, even when they know it's destroying them? And more importantly, how can someone finally break free? Stay until the end, because this path leads to a truth few dare to confront, and it might just change the way you understand yourself. Part 1. The Invisible Prison. There is a particular kind of suffering that doesn't make a sound. It hides in sentences like, "Maybe things will go back to how they were. I just need more time. I can't imagine life without this." At first glance, this looks like attachment. But Jung believed something much deeper is going on, something he called libidinal fixation. When a person cannot let go of a relationship, a past identity, a job, or even a pain, it's not because these things were meaningful. It's because their psychic energy, what Jung called libido, has frozen around them. The past becomes a psychological anchor, and the person becomes trapped inside a life that no longer exists. They stop inhabiting reality. They begin to haunt memories. It's not that they remember the past, it's that they are still living in it. You cannot expect someone to walk into the future if their energy is trapped behind them. And this raises the next question. Why does the psyche do this? Why freeze? Why cling? Why refuse to move? To understand this, we must look deeper into the architecture of the ego itself. Part 2. The Fusion of Identity. Jung noticed something extraordinary. People don't cling because they love the past. They cling because they became the past. The relationship is not just someone they loved. It is the structure holding their identity together. The job is not something they once did. It is the container of their self-worth. The trauma is not something that happened. It is the lens through which their entire psyche organizes itself. In psychology, this is called ego identification. The ego fuses with something outside itself, so losing that thing feels like dying. This is why letting go feels impossible. It's not the object that matters. It's the identity wrapped around it. A person who cannot let go is not resisting change. They are resisting self-dissolution. And when faced with the question, if I am no longer this, who am I? Their entire inner world trembles. This fusion almost always comes from a missing internal foundation, a sense of self that never fully formed. Which brings us to Jung's most haunting insight. If you like our channel, don't forget to subscribe. Part 3. The Child Within Who Never Separated. Some adults, Jung said, live psychologically as children, not because they act childishly, but because their ego never finished developing. In early childhood, we live in a state Jung called mystical participation. A baby does not know where they end and the world begins. They cry, and the world responds. They need, and the world supplies. There is no separation, just fusion. This is natural for a child, but for an adult, it is a psychic prison. When someone grows up without emotional stability, through trauma, neglect, abandonment, or even overprotection, the ego fails to become separate and autonomous. They become adults with childlike structures of dependency. They don't just love someone, they become psychologically merged with them. They don't just play a role, they are the role. They don't just remember the past, they live inside it. And so, letting go becomes terrifying. Because for a child, separation is death. This is why people cling even when the past hurts them, even when the job exhausts them, even when the relationship ended long ago. They are not trying to preserve the past, they are trying to preserve themselves. But there is something even more terrifying than separation, something most people never face: the void left behind. Part 4. The Abyss. People are terrified to face. Letting go is terrifying not because the past is meaningful, but because the void that follows feels unbearable. The empty space where something used to be. The silent room after someone leaves. The blank identity after a job ends. For people who never developed a strong inner self, this void is not calm or neutral. It feels like annihilation, an inner collapse, a bottomless abyss. And so the psyche avoids it by clinging to people, to memories, to pain, to roles, to anything that prevents confronting that emptiness. Jung believed this void is the birthplace of the true self, but only if someone dares to enter it. Most don't. Instead, they stay trapped in familiar suffering, because the known pain feels safer than the unknown nothingness. But if someone is brave enough, if they can face the void instead of avoiding it, something extraordinary becomes possible: the rebirth of the self. And yet, the process is not just about release. It requires something much more powerful. Part 5. The shadow that keeps you attached. People say they want to move on, but Jung warned, if you haven't let go, it's because part of you doesn't want to. Not consciously, not logically, but unconsciously, in the shadow. There are hidden benefits to staying attached. You don't have to admit you wasted years. You don't have to face loneliness. You don't have to take responsibility for your own life. You don't have to risk becoming someone new. You don't have to confront the truth that scares you. Pain becomes identity. Suffering becomes safety. The past becomes an excuse. The shadow whispers, "Stay, it's safer here." And the person obeys, not knowing these whispers do not come from wisdom, but from fear. To confront the shadow is to admit the truth. Letting go is not hard because the past is powerful. It's hard because the future demands courage. Part 6. When attachment is not a choice, but a trauma. There is one more layer. Sometimes the inability to let go is not emotional, not behavioral, not psychological. It is traumatic. When a person goes through a shock, loss, abandonment, betrayal, or sudden emotional rupture, part of the psyche freezes. Time keeps moving, but a part of the soul stays behind. This frozen fragment becomes a complex, an autonomous inner entity that pulls the person back into the past. They are not choosing to cling. They are held there, by something that happened long ago, by a part of themselves that still lives in that moment, by a pain that never had the chance to be processed. Trauma does not just break you, it stops you in time. And for someone in this state, letting go is not about willpower, it is about healing. Sometimes it requires therapy, sometimes deep inner work, sometimes a guide who can help retrieve the frozen part and bring it back to the present. And that brings us to the final step. Part 7, the path to letting go, Jung's method. Letting go, Jung said, is not forgetting, it is reintegrating. Here is the path he believed leads to true release. 1. Recognize projections. Ask yourself, if I let go of this, what do I feel I lose? The answer is rarely the object. It's usually my sense of worth, my identity, my safety, my meaning. That's where the real work begins. Comment below, what are you afraid of losing? 2. Use active imagination. Dialogue with the person, the object, or the memory. Ask it what it represents. Ask what it is protecting. Ask what it fears. Symbolic conversations reveal truths logic cannot. 3. Ritualize the release. Burn the letter. Throw away the object. Write the final words you never said. Ritual tells the unconscious, it is over. 4. Create the new self. Nature hates a vacuum. If you do not fill the space your past filled, the psyche will cling to something else. Ask, what part of myself must be born now? Because letting go is not just an ending, it is an initiation. Final words. People who can't let go are not weak, they are wounded, they are fused, frozen, afraid, still carrying versions of themselves that were never allowed to grow up. But Jung believed this: the past does not release you until you release the person you were inside it. Letting go is not losing yourself. It is meeting the self you were always meant to become.